Welcome to Only Joe, where today it's giants, vanished bones, and very nervous officials. A military pilot says he saw a giant corpse on a pallet headed out of Afghanistan, and somehow that is not even the weirdest part. Because once you add secret rooms, disappearing skeletons, and ancient tombs, literally called Tombs of the Giants, this stops sounding tidy real fast. The hook here is brutally simple. A C-130 pilot flying to Bagram in 2005 says he saw a body on a pallet described as 10 to 12 feet tall, around 1,100 pounds, red hair, 6 fingers on each hand. That is a sentence that instantly makes you put your phone down. According to the account, the body was reportedly being moved toward Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which of course is one of those names that immediately drags a whole freight train of conspiracy baggage into the room. Then you get the classic warning language. No photos, no mention, do not talk about it. And honestly, whether you believe every inch of this or not, the part that grabs people is the reaction pattern. People supposedly connected to it get evasive, tense, suddenly allergic to eye contact. The Pentagon later denied that any giant was killed in Afghanistan, which is exactly the kind of denial that makes a story feel even louder. This is where the story stops being just one wild battlefield tale and turns into a bigger suppression narrative. Wright-Patterson has this alleged Blue Room mythology around it, supposedly storing alien stuff, giant artifacts, the whole forbidden storage unit cinematic universe. Then the Smithsonian gets pulled in too, with rumors about giant femurs and red-haired skeletons locked away in basements and never photographed. Do we have the clean public evidence package people would want? No. What we do have is the recurring shape of the claim. Fine turns up, authorities remove it, photos vanish, everybody is told to shut up. And that pattern is the whole point. The story survives because it keeps repeating in different places with the same suspicious choreography. Sardinia is basically catnip for this topic. The island has around 7,000 Bronze Age Nuraghi towers and roughly 800 sites called Tombs of the Giants, which is already an aggressively unsubtle name. Local tradition says these places marked burials of very tall people, and excavations around Santa Anastasia in the 70s and 80s reportedly uncovered skeletons in the 8 to 12-foot range. And then we get the part that sounds like a thriller, written by an archaeologist who has had enough excavators say the material was put in a church courtyard and then disappeared overnight. Municipal officials allegedly told them, in essence, keep your mouth shut. That is not how you calm anyone down. That is how you guarantee a story lives forever. Even if you set the giant bones aside for a second, the architecture is doing a lot of work here. Cyclopean masonry shows up in Sardinia, in Peru at Sacsayhuaman, and at ancient Egyptian sites. Huge stones, no mortar, tightly interlocked, curved corners, absurd precision. And every time people look at it, somebody asks the same question. Bronze Age builders did this with what, exactly? And by what method? The mainstream answer is still human ingenuity, labor, time, organization. Fair enough. But the reason these sites keep attracting fringe theories is obvious. When giant interlocking blocks show up across distant cultures, people start wondering if there was a shared building tradition or some lost know-how that got wiped out. Then you zoom out, and the mythology starts rhyming in a way that people find hard to ignore. Red-haired giants, six-fingered giants, giant invaders, giant eaters, giants arriving by boat. Versions of that show up in Afghan war stories, Native American traditions, and colonial accounts from Peru. One Peruvian thread even describes giants arriving on reed boats and consuming food at a ridiculous rate, like 50 times normal. Now, similar stories across cultures do not automatically prove there was one real giant population. But I get why people lock onto it. When details repeat, especially weird details, the human brain immediately starts asking if myth is preserving some distorted memory of an actual group. And if you want the ancient full-power version of this, the Book of Enoch is waiting for you, with zero interest in being subtle. 200 watchers descend, make a pact on Mount Hermon, share knowledge with humans, take human wives, and produce giants, the Nephilim. In this framing, the giant story is not just biology or archaeology, it is rebellion, forbidden knowledge, and a world going off the rails before the flood. Then later traditions pile on with the Rephaim, ritual summoning, spirit possession, Baal cult material, and eventually the idea that giant spirits linger as demonic forces. It is a huge cosmic mashup, but the through line is pretty clear. Giant bloodlines and corrupted knowledge keep getting tied to catastrophe. That catastrophe piece is where the Younger Dryas angle comes in. Some researchers point to iridium, dark carbon, and melted glass in North American layers as evidence of a comet impact around 11,000 BCE, a disaster big enough to help explain sudden freezing of mammoths and rapid megafauna loss. For giant history people, this is the cleanup mechanism. If there really were remnant populations, a cataclysm like that could help explain why they vanish from the record and survive mostly as stories. Again, it's a hypothesis stacked onto other hypotheses, but as a narrative spine, it is very compelling. Big beings, lost knowledge, world-ending reset. Memory survives as myth. The last twist in all this is the mood behind it. There is a real argument here that ancient people were not primitive in every sense, and may even have had capacities we have lost. That gets tied to biblical lifespans, pre-flood genealogies, and modern anxieties about declining sperm counts, mutational load, and a weird future where our gadgets get smarter while we maybe get frailer. It is a provocative contrast. The tools keep evolving upward, and the body may not be. That is one reason giant stories stick. They flatter the suspicion that history is not one clean march of progress. Maybe some things were bigger, stranger, and in certain ways stronger before everything broke. So if you came in for one battlefield rumor and left with Nephilim, vanished skeletons, and suspiciously perfect stonework, that feels about right. Thanks for hanging out with Only Joe. Keep your photos backed up, just in case somebody tells you not to mention the giant. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.